Hey, Steve Riley. Welcome to this episode of Great Practice, Great Life. And today I brought in a fantastic practice advisor, an attorney, a friend, a colleague, Daniel Struna. So Daniel, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Steve. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really
It's,
happy to be here.
it's great to have
Excited.
you here. It's great to have you here. And I appreciate you taking the time because I know you're working with a lot of clients, and pulling you away from taking care of our clients is a big ask. So we're really here today to kind of pick your brain, get your insight, and get your wisdom on how to help lawyers, their team members, their team leaders, and even lawyers that are looking at maybe starting their own practice on how to have a great practice and a great life. So I really appreciate you taking the time. You're a very accomplished advisor. Now, you've been with us for what, 8 years now?
Yeah, so January 2024 will be the 8-year anniversary for me in Atticus,
Wow.
which is exciting.
Wow, wow, wow. Wow, it's gone fast, buddy, and you're doing a great job, a real great job.
Yep. Thank you.
So I know you have grown up in basically, you were born in California, raised in Florida, but you've been in a lot of different places. You've been to India, Brazil, Guatemala, and to just tell me, just real quick, how did you end up in India, Brazil, and Guatemala? What was the motivation for that?
Yeah, so in my early or my mid-teens, I'll say, I started doing, mission work essentially with my local church and started going to Honduras on a regular basis. So we would go down there for 2 weeks at a time and do basically do like help a small town out in the mountains, kind of isolated with no clean running water. And we would work together with the people that live there to basically bring fresh, clean water to those people. So that got me kind of interested in the idea of, generally speaking, like helping people. And so over the years, that kind of continually developed. And so the India, Brazil, Guatemala kind of trio was basically a 3-year stint where I was, living, learning, and working in those countries, specifically tied into street kids, kids that were, living hard life on the streets, and then orphanages as well.
So it gives you a great background, like probably a completely different background about how great our clients have it, how great you have it here. But you also went to Bogota, correct?
Yeah. So fast forward quite a bit of years, I went down to Bogota, Colombia, and that was more on the business side of things. So a friend of mine from for many years, he had moved down to Colombia, and he had started a very successful restaurant, very, very successful restaurant, and a very successful luxury housing division outside of Bogota. And so he invited me to go down, basically work on, running the restaurant, preparing it to offer public shares basically in the restaurant. So I went down there. It was about a 2-year time period. And, besides the language and everything else that goes with, kind of immersing yourself in another culture, managing a team of 70, 80 employees, there was just a lot involved. And so it was a pretty incredible learning experience. And, kind of the icing on the cake for me was I also met my future wife while I was there. So that was pretty incredible.
I mean, as an advisor, you're usually problem solving. As a coach, you're basically helping them create solutions. And really what you're doing is helping them think about the problem. Whereas from an advising perspective, you're saying, do this. And I think you really raise a good point, which is to give advice, you have to make a lot of assumptions
Right.
and be correct about your assumptions. And that's sometimes a very dangerous thing to do, especially when you only have a couple of opportunities during the week, during the month to talk to your clients. It's very tough to make those assumptions. It's the same, it's the same thing that lawyers have to confront in their practices, that you and I used to have to confront when we're practicing. So let me ask you
Yep.
this. What are your favorite types of clients to work with?
So that's a great question, Steve. I think um, my favorite type of client to work with are clients that can see a really great future in front of them. They can see a future filled with successes, wins, and gains. They can, to at least some degree, they can, kind of paint a picture and have a vision for what the future holds for them. I feel like if they just, frankly, coaching, right, working with me requires a level of investment. So there's a financial investment, there's a time investment, there's a commitment investment. There's all sorts of investments that somebody has to make when when they choose to work with coach, and the the size of the investment that somebody is willing to kind of put into to the coaching process, I think has a correlation to the size of the future that they see for themselves. And so when I think of what my ideal client looks like, I'm thinking of somebody that really sees a big future for themselves and is willing to make a big investment.
I love that.
But because I know that they'll be committed, right, to the process, and they'll see the wins that they want to see.
What would you consider your next growth strategy?
So my third one would be kind of a combination, but I think there's a correlation between them. But it's being grateful, you know, experiencing and expressing gratitude, and really focusing on the wins, on the successes, on the progress that you're making. So I know that, as I say this, I know gratitude, and generally speaking, as a skill, as a superpower, is like very, very much in vogue right now. But I think it's very much for good reason, because it really, truly works. I know in my own life, I've experienced it, shortly after the pandemic started, right? I think kind of all through the Atticus community, practice advisors, other team members, Atticus members, a lot of us did the gratitude challenge, right? Where we very intentionally set out with another person or people to practice the art of gratitude on a daily basis. So we know it works, right? And there's a lot of research that shows it works. I think that the correlation between gratitude and wins is the more that you focus on your gratitude and being grateful, the more likely and the easier it is to focus on wins and successes, because those things are related. You're almost forced to kind of focus on the people and things, or the aspect of those people and things that are going well, right? So I think as a growth strategy, being grateful, focusing on the wins is just brilliant.